The NFL Combine is very close to near, and we got a lot of stuff to cover today. As always, guys, welcome into another edition of the Sick Podcast Talking Titans. Let's not waste a second. Let's get right into it. Jimmy, start us up.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Talking Titans.
Do the Titans have a miracle left in them in what has been a magical season to this point? Going to be fielded by Lorenzo Neal at the 25. Pitches it back to Wycheck. He throws it across the field to Dyson.
He's got something.
30,
He's got
40,
something.
50.
He's got it.
40.
He's got it.
20. 10.
He's got it.
End zone. Touchdown Titans. There are no flags on the field. It's a miracle. Tennessee has pulled a miracle.
The sickest Tennessee Titans podcast. Sick! It's going to be sick.
All right. Once again, folks, welcome back to another edition of the Sick Podcast Talking Titans. Joined always by my counterpart, Jarett. Jarett, how are we doing today, brother?
Not bad, big dog. Missed you last week.
Yep.
Glad you're back. So, Vinny's looking like he's coming back now. The baby's doing good. So,
Awesome.
We're back.
It's good. It'll be good to have the three amigos back on a consistent basis. Obviously, the show's at its best when we're all together. But nevertheless, let's truck on here, Jarett. So obviously, Combine begins when? Tomorrow?
No, Thursday.
Thursday.
They had everything today. Opening, our opening ceremonies, but
yeah,
opening
I
with
feel
the
like
coaches
Wednesday.
and the GM. So
Today felt like a Wednesday. That's the only reason why I thought that. Of course, that starts Thursday. We have some of our great, Sick Pod members over there talking to folks over at the Combine, giving us great interviews. We've already had a little opportunity to talk to the head coach of our team. Juliana was able to get some time with him. Make sure you can check that out on our socials. But, there's a lot of things that have been said over the past few days regarding our team and what our future is going to behold. And I want to get some of your opinions on it. First one that stuck out to me right off the bat, some of the things that I was sent, is that Borgonzi said that Will Levis is going to compete with whoever they bring in, whether that be rookie, veteran, or potentially both. Who knows? Man, I was telling this to my dad earlier today, and it really is true. Like, I genuinely want to dislike Will Levis. Like, I want to be able to say, I can't stand him. I want him out of here. But I just can't. I don't know what it is. I just, there's something about him that I just can't let go. And I can't say I'm upset that they're going to let him take a swing. I mean, the resiliency of this kid can't be unmatched. We know nothing gets to him. No matter how good or bad he plays, he goes into the next one like nothing happened. So he's got that going for him. I'm sure 90% of the fan base is annoyed that they're even saying out loud he's going to compete. But I'm honestly not. And I want to get your opinion on, them being, at least whether it's the truth or not, still being public with that kind of statement.
listen, in my opinion, I'm smiling because I'll be the bad guy. I'm totally out on them. I said I was out on them after we left Nashville. Just a simple fact of they're playing politics right now. You know how it is. They hold the number one pick. They're fielding the phone calls, and especially with that Will Levis comment. I don't want to go off topic since I want to stay on this. With the Will Levis comment, he said also there's one quarterback on the roster. They're bringing in a vet. They're bringing in two vets, or they're bringing a vet and they're bringing in the rookie quarterback.
Yeah.
Either way you like it. And for them to say, yeah, Will Levis is going to compete. We have one quarterback currently on the roster. We're bringing them in. He's going to get his fair share out of it. I think the experiment's done with the Will Levis thing. Obviously, we're not going to trade him. There's nothing to, there's nothing we're not going to get nothing out of it for trading Will Levis. We have him under contract. We'll keep him and then, let the contract expire at this point. And competition is good for a rookie quarterback or a veteran quarterback for that sake. So,
I mean, listen, if nothing else, I don't think there'll be many people that disagree. If Will Levis is the backup of this football team, he'll be one of the better backups, in the National Football League. Now, that's not going to matter if the guy they bring in to start is shit and then the rest of the team is shit, and he comes in and has a sequel to last year. We're still going to lose games, but if things start to actually click, then having Will Levis learn and still be involved in the playbook and have him sit in the bench and if needed to come in, it's going to be a great luxury to have, obviously, because we know there's still, no matter what you say, there's still upside there. Because I'll say it one more time, Jarett. Up until that Bengal game, you, me, Vin, and everyone else in between was basically saying, well, at least now we can focus on another position in next year's draft. I mean, it was happening. One game, and now he is not even. He's an afterthought, and everyone was that way, and I was that way. But it is still kind of crazy that the kid basically just played a single season on one of the worst teams in the NFL, top to bottom, and because he wasn't good enough to jump off the page, that we're just gonna, let him go. Now, again, I just said I'm all in on Cam Ward. But it is still kind of crazy when you look at it in a vacuum. I mean, talk about just another situation where the person's in a horrendous place to try to succeed. Doesn't change how he had a lot of blunders, a lot of goofs. He deserves to be in the spot he's in, but boy, oh boy, I mean, he really didn't get much of a chance outside of the few opportunities that he missed. But we're still moving on. I still want the quarterback. I still will take Aaron Rodgers. Don't mistake anything that I'm saying right now. But it's frustrating.
Oh, of course,
you know the deal. I mean, how many times are you going through this?
We have every right to be frustrated, but talking about what the head coach, Brian Callahan, and what GM Mike Borgonzi said today, there was a lot of I don't know how you took it. That's why I said we have podcasts and we read comments on all the socials and we interact with a lot of people. I don't know how you took it, so I want to bring it to the table now. When you listen and break down those interviews today at the Combine. When you hear we're taking the best player, period, there's multiple generational talents in this draft, how he covered his ass now, saying multiple at the positions. And the positions of need being deep in this draft is edge, tight end, and running back. All right?
And receiver.
And more or less, yes, more or less receiver too, but they specifically mentioned those three positions as well. So now when they're talking, best player available, timing, accuracy, and characteristics of a quarterback, and then them saying that we want to build in the trenches, because that's where games are won. Look at the last two teams in the Super Bowl. That's how games are won. We brought it up after the Super Bowl. Now with them saying all this, it's kind of steering me in the direction of, are they really going to go edge here with Abdul Carter? Or what they're saying with the smoke screen, it's so deep, this draft, we can bang and get an edge at 35, and we can really go after Cam Ward if we're really in love with the quarterback position. I mean, we're in a good spot because we picked top two in both the first and second rounds. Well, really, we got the third pick in the second round, but we're still in the top of the round. There's a lot of smoke screen. What did you think about those comments that were made today?
I mean, listen, the more I watch Abdul Carter, the more I can't act as if I'm going to be annoyed if they take him. I mean, it's not like we're taking a right guard at number one. You know what I mean? This guy makes an impact on every game he plays in, and he could potentially be the best pass rusher in the franchise's history. He really could. If his preview is going to lead up to the movie that we're expecting to see from him. But with that being said, to touch a little bit on the trade news, I'm pretty much solidified in my thought process here that if they get offered a pick swap and 2 first rounders from anyone, they got to do it.
Well, then, yeah, they need a haul, and that's what Borgonzi said. The only way they're moving is if it's a haul.
I mean, it's got to be 2 first rounders and a swap. The Jets want to go all in on Cam Ward. They give you next year's and 2027
and a Garrett Wilson.
I mean,
he wants out.
That's going to be too much. They're not going to do 2 first rounders and a pick swap and Garrett Wilson. I mean, that you're talking like that's. I would love that. I would do that in 5 seconds, but I think that's a little overkill. I think the most anyone's going to go, unless they're coming from, the bottom half, which I don't think anyone would do. I don't see them getting any more than a pick swap and 2 first rounders. Maybe they throw in a third. But I could be wrong. And I only think that's the case because these 2 prospects at quarterback aren't at a big enough level. And I know no matter what, there's a price range in any draft from where you go one spot to another. But I think, in a vacuum, looking at a GM's perspective about what they're going to be willing to accept, I just don't see any GM, or I don't see Borgonzi and company accepting, or anybody throwing anything out more than 2 first rounders for these 2 guys. So, if they do it, I got to jump all over it, especially if you're going to still land in the top 10. I'm not going to be mad at Carter. I'm not going to be mad at Travis Hunter, honestly. It's going to be almost impossible to annoy me in this draft. I mean, it really will be. because you know they're either going to trade it for a haul or they're going to take one of those. I mean, they're not taking a tackle or a guard in the first round. That's almost impossible.
So yeah, definitely not. But I like how you brought in Travis Hunter too, because there was a lot of things that were said about him today. One being Brian Callahan saying, "Where do you see him primarily?" They say, primarily I see him as a cornerback, and you can scheme him into an offense. As a wide receiver, he's obviously a punt returner, a kick returner, dynamic. And then you have the Browns, who's picking right after us, and they say they primarily see him as a wide receiver. So it depends on how teams value Travis Hunter in this draft. I mean, you're talking about a talent that's ridiculous and electric with the ball in his hands. So it's going to be interesting how the Titans judge him, and whether, to me right now it's either Cam Ward or Abdul Carter at 1. Because the way they're talking, it's just crazy to me in the position we're at, where there's not a solidified number 1 that, like, yes, this guy is number 1. Like, why can't that just be us one year? How, like, Andrew Luck was coming out and Joe Burrow was coming out, and
or last year if we got number 1.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
So, but I'll tell you what, Travis Hunter's agent. Not looking to be drafted as a cornerback. I'll tell you right now. Obviously, I mean, you're not getting the $50 million plus a year salaries that these guys are getting from being a defensive back. Mm-hmm. So they can say whatever they want. Travis Hunter wants to catch the ball in the NFL, and his agent wants him to catch the ball in the NFL. And he's going to do everything in his power to be a receiver. I honestly think so. Now, if he's going to go all out and publicly say, I don't care who drafts me, I want to be on both sides of the ball. That's, a non-negotiable. I'm playing both. I don't know. We'll see. I don't think any ownership, any coach, any staff is going to be okay with that, letting the guy play, 150 snaps a game.
Yeah,
but
no way.
It's going to be interesting. He's such a wild card in this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
You don't.
And no one's been talking about him either.
No, you don't get a Shohei Ohtani in football very often. And he's a very good one. And I don't know what his situation is going to be and where he's going to go. And he's just a real big wrench in this whole thing, because you don't know what team values him at what position and who has them higher on those boards at such position. And that could swing a lot of things. So we'll have to see. Certainly wouldn't mind having a universal utility guy for the Titans, but I think there's bigger needs, obviously, if he's going to play even a little bit of DB, because we don't need any DBs, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, you know what also rang my bell today when I was listening to Callahan. They said that they wouldn't mind moving J.C. Latham over to the right-hand side, too, if they found a left tackle. I mean, to me, it's like the door keeps swinging. A lot of people keep saying, like, we have $65 million in free agency. We're going to try to give the bag to Trey Smith to play right guard. Then you have to worry about bringing in like a Rodney Stanley, plugging him at left, and then you're going to move J.C. Latham over. But to me, if they're trying to build and develop players, they have Trey Smith and they'll have Cushenberry as the older people on the line if they're moving over to the right. But like they said today, how to win football games, it's at the tackle position. So heavy, they're going to go after. That's what I'm saying. We can't really judge until free agency's over, where they go O-line big or edge big, going after Josh Sweat or receivers, because it's really not it's not really a great class for free agency. And the big prize ticket would be for wide receiver if you don't go in the draft, if you don't get Njigba at in the second round, if you don't get one of these other wide receivers or Nick Nash late, because I love that kid out of San Diego State. If you want another, alpha next to Calvin Ridley, you'd have to, the top priority would be Trey Smith and T. Higgins for me. Yeah, there's so many more holes to fill with that money. I don't know if they're just throwing bags and bags and bags at people.
Well, I just don't want anybody to tell me, because I've had arguments with people before about how J.C. Latham had this excellent rookie year. He really, obviously, I think this shows it clearly doesn't. If there's even a little bit of inclination that they might move him to another side of the line.
I would say above average at most, at best.
I wouldn't say above average. I mean, you let up like 20 pressures in his. I mean, this is a 7th overall pick. I don't want to lay it on J.C. Latham like that. There's no point of doing that. I want him to succeed. I want him to be
it's a concern if that's the conversation in the room.
But like people are arguing with me on Twitter. I don't know what I'm talking about. you're going to fry a guy. No, I mean, he's a 7th overall pick in the NFL draft. If you're an offensive lineman at 7 overall, there shouldn't be any growing pains. Okay, you don't have to learn to do much. You're doing the same thing you've been doing. It's the same stance. It's the same everything. You got to block the guy rushing your way. You don't got to know 1,000 plays. You're either moving left or you're moving right. That's it. That's all you're doing. Okay. If you're 7th overall, you need to be plug and play. And if you're not, that's a problem for that organization. And this guy isn't. Okay. And you can even make an argument that Skoronski, as you know, he's good, but he doesn't jump off the page at his position. And at these spots that are picked, they're supposed to. So my point being, just again, they can't lose this draft. There's no way around it. It's not going to be an option. They can't do it. Whatever way they go, their first pick in this draft, unless they're getting an absolute bag of them behind, needs to be a guy who's going to impact the game week 1, play 1. And there's no way around it. It just has to be. We've waited long enough. People watching, you need to stop settling. You're settling, okay? Either you're a homer or you're settling. If you're getting mad at us for being pissed off about all the mishaps this organization has done, you're settling. You need to be angry too. You need to stop being okay with old linemen that are average at best. You need to stop being okay with these fucking cornerbacks and people who don't even barely play in their first round selection by us. It's not acceptable anymore. This is a new regime. This is a regime that we're hoping is going to be the last regime for a long time. They need to feel the pressure that we're not bullshitting anymore. There's no more fucking around. And they better put all their collective heads together and find out what the best point of attack is.
They have to. Because they literally have a stadium being built that's right next door, and it's opening in 2027. They need to open that stadium with a winning football team, and everybody knows it. Amy knows it. All 3 new GMs that we have in the building, they all know it, and Brian Callahan knows it too. And another thing I got out of the comment for Brian Callahan, they said they're looking for a long-term investment for a quarterback. So right then and there, like there's so many conflicting things, Sal. Like seriously, just try to piece this together. What all the smoke screens that they're putting out there. They're talking generational talent. They're talking about building in the trenches, edge being so deep. We got to get offensive line. You know, we're looking for a long-term investment in a quarterback and a stable. Who is that? That doesn't scream veteran quarterback to me. They touched on bringing in a veteran to develop a young guy. That's just hitting everything. They're playing the game really well because they're not giving anything away.
Yeah, they're not making everyone think they want everyone.
Of course. So what direction this team goes, we don't know. The fans, you guys that are watching, you guys have no idea yet until free agency hits. That's when you really get to tell what direction this team is going to go. Just that little week, that first week of free agency, watch how things change. You're going to see mocks change. You're going to see players in the draft rise and fall, especially this week with the combine. You're going to see a lot.
Yeah, and I really, honestly, I don't know if we touched on it last time I was on, but I got to be honest with you, Jarett. I think there's some real legitimacy to these rumors about Rodgers. I really do.
I said the same thing too, but like, I want it, but how ridiculous would it be? I mean, it sounds crazy, and just me saying this out loud. But you get like an Aaron Rodgers on a 1-year, 2-year rental to develop Cam Ward. If you pick Cam Ward out there, it's kind of like a wasted bringing in Aaron Rodgers, paying him $25 million. Where
no, I don't think they do that if they take him. I don't think they draft quarterback if they take Rodgers. I don't think they do it.
But if they want a long-term investment, do they wait next year? What happens if Rodgers gets you 9 wins and you're not picking, and then you're out of the quarterback and you have no picks to move on?
And you trade up.
Yeah, but with what? What capital you have? We don't have that much capital.
Well, another thing you got to think about it.
Yeah,
no, you got to think about it as well, though. Like, I mean, we're going to be in a stretch, June, Jarett, where there's not going to be a ton of teams that are going to need quarterbacks. I mean, we're almost at that point. If the Giants get theirs and the Browns get theirs, okay, what are you looking at? Technically, you're looking at what the Giants. Did I mention them already?
Yeah.
Giants, Commanders, Jets, maybe Saints. They might give Rattler another shot to start the year. I mean,
you got Vegas still out there.
Yeah, Vegas. Saints. There's maybe 5 right now. Everyone else is pretty much solid and set.
Seattle.
Okay. Yeah. But the Seahawks, they always find a way to compete.
No, of course.
They never lose fucking 15 games.
I hear what you're saying. It's just that let's just put that in perspective now, okay? Whoever the worst team is next year, whatever, and Rodgers, if we do, sign Rodgers to a 1-year deal or whatever, and he gets us 8 or 9 wins, we're still picking in that 15 to 21 range.
Yeah.
And then to move up to 1 per se, to get an Arch Manning, to get any of these quarterbacks coming out, you're going to need to, and they're already talking. They don't want to move. They want to hold on to the picks like gold because they want the most picks in the top 100 every year.
I understand that, but let's just be honest here. That they've been one of the worst fucking teams in the last decade with drafting. So this new regime should get rid of these old mindsets. Let's stockpile picks. The picks don't mean shit if you don't get the player production out of them. And obviously, that's something everyone knows and you know as well. My point being is, if that was going to be their route, I don't think they should be scared about next year's grab because you never know what's going to happen.
Of course.
You know what I mean? If they go they're going to have to reshape the whole team. Obviously, again, if you're the worst team in the league, you better look a lot different the next year. So that would mean, obviously, I know, of course, injuries were a big concern. He'd be the biggest piece that changed for the quarterback position. Running backs are going to be the same. Receivers, hopefully, there'll be additions. Corners are good. I mean, another thing, like I said, I've already said this before. To be completely honest, if we could shore up this O-line to be average, not crazy good, average.
We need it to be good.
All right, yeah, of course. But I'm just playing devil's advocate here.
Yeah.
We always assume it's going to be terrible because it almost always is. This roster that they have at the moment with no more additions, right? If healthy, is really not that terrible, man.
No.
Defensive now, pass rush, oh my God, needs a facelift like no other. And I think we're going to get that in some capacity. Corners healthy, we're set there. Obviously the running game with a horrible O-line was good. Quarterback, we just mentioned. I mean, they should be able to compete if they get a guy and
exactly.
They some people in.
So my question to you right now is, since you basically broke down a lot of the positions, what are the two needs for this team to get over the hump?
Receiver 1.
That's where you're going? Go ahead.
Well, I'm talking as if, we're just going to give Rodgers a shot. And we're not.
No. I'm talking about nothing. What are the two needs currently today?
Your receiver or a quarterback 1, because we don't have a quarterback that changes a game right now. Levis has never changed a game. And second, it's got to be pass rush, whether that be interior or exterior. It didn't exist.
That's what I'm saying. That's the coin flip that we're at. What do we prioritize now? What is going to be deeper? Are you falling in love with Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders? And you think you can get a Mike Green, early in the second round? Can you get one of these other guys since you fall in love with a pass rusher, this week or in the meeting rooms at some point? That's going to be an impact player. We don't need a situational pass rusher. We need a day one impact player, Javon Curse style, when we drafted him off the edge, making an immediate impact. Those are the type of players we need day one right now.
And you mentioned it, and it really, I don't know. I know there'll be people in the comments, crying, trying to crucify me for saying it, but they should go do what fucking Houston did, man.
Listen, I was all about it.
I mentioned it multiple times.
I said the same thing. Why not?
Go get them both. Go get Cam Ward, and then jump right back up and go get Abdul Carter, because who's second?
Cleveland.
It's Tennessee, Cleveland, Giants, Patriots.
Yeah.
Patriots aren't taking Abdul Carter, are they?
No, I would think they would be taking Hunter.
So fucking jump right back up to 5. What are they going to have to give up? They're going to have to give up next year's?
If the Browns do find a trade for Myles Garrett, you could say hello to Abdul Carter, because they're not going to pass that one up.
Yeah, I mean, not for nothing, though. That's going to be tough for them, because you're just basically breaking even there. That's all you're trying to do. You know what I mean? You're not improving the team.
Yeah, but you're losing that pass rush, and now you're not gonna take that contract. You have a rookie contract and a pass rusher, so you're just getting a younger Myles Garrett at that point.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm just saying from an organization standpoint, fan standpoint, they're probably not going to be too thrilled about that, lateral movement per se.
Oh, of course.
But no, that would be a smart play for them. And that's assuming, now, mind you, I'm not even thinking about the fact that they're going to be trading this all-world talent. So they're going to be getting something in return for that. But I wouldn't be opposed to it. I would be so fucking hyped to see that name go back up on the clock. And then that's it. I mean, nobody's gonna be talking any shit about this regime if they're going all in and say, listen, we're gonna take the quarterback, we're gonna move back up, we're gonna lock in our edge rusher for the next 10 years, and then attack everything else at free agency. I mean, like I find it hard to believe that that whatever route they take, they're at least gonna take a route that most of the fan base is gonna understand and be content with. That's all.
Have to.
We don't have to do backflips about what they do, but obviously, nobody was high-fiving their friends about the J.C. Latham pick. Nobody was high-fiving their buddies about the Peter Skoronski pick, and especially not right now because there's still an offensive line in disarray when half of it is almost half of it is first-round pick. So, we'll have to see, but Combine's going to do a lot for us, I think, even though most of our top guys aren't going to be throwing. But
not a lot of people, not a lot of activity. Abdul Carter's not going to play because he's still dealing with that injury. I mean, not play. He's not going to participate because he's dealing with the injury, from the Notre Dame game. He said pro day. Genty's not going anywhere. I know we're not doing Genty. None of the quarterbacks are throwing. Sanders or Ward. So, I mean, if they hit it off in the meetings where they need to, and they hit it off at their pro day. Like I always say, the underwear Olympics, it's great. You can throw the ball 70 yards and, with no DB at your pro day, but it's all here too. We fell in love with all these we fell in love with those quarterbacks. Wow. They throw the ball. Can they make the right decisions? And that's why I said, whether we get Cam Ward, whether we get Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter, Shedeur Sanders, anybody in this first round, I'm going to be that person. I know it's very hard for us, especially on this show, and I know you too. I'm going to try this year to not be so hyped about a player going into training camp, going into the season. They need to start proving me. They need to start proving to us as fans that, hey, I can get around this guy, so we're not looking like fools anymore as fans to say, hey, they're going to win 13 games, and we're going to go to the Super Bowl. We're going to do this. I can't as a fan of this franchise. We're so invested into it that if we do get Cam Ward, of course I'm going to be in here, rah, but I can't say it because you go back on your words real quick. Like this guy can be the Patrick Mahomes or he can be like a Jamarcus Russell. You have no idea.
No, of course not. I can't do that either. I've done it too many times.
I need them to start proving us right instead of proving us wrong.
Yeah, and obviously, I think there's a couple players that'll be super easy to assume are going to prove us right, and there's going to be some players that are going to be a coin flip. And unfortunately, the bigger need is going to likely be that coin flip. So we're going to have to see how things play out. Like I said, we have a lot of people, a lot of new brains in the room to share their opinions on what the options should be. And hopefully they have a nice consensus going and they're all on the same page and they do what's best for us long term. But I will say this, I am still all in on Cam Ward. I mean, that's really where I'm at. Something about this kid, I don't know what it is. He just seems like a can't miss guy.
Yeah.
And he seems like nothing gets to him. And that's something you need, as competitive as Will Levis is, get the sometimes his emotions get to him. I'm not saying
of course
it doesn't change the way he still plays. He doesn't play scared. At least at times he did, but for the most part he doesn't. But you can see his emotions get to him sometimes, and you can't let that happen unless you're Peyton Manning. Then you can let your emotions go once in a while. Mm-hmm. Cam Ward just seems like a guy that nothing ever gets to him, and that's a good attribute to have when getting into the NFL. So we'll see.
Before we wrap up, I just want to say one thing because I said it to Vinny last week. I didn't get a chance to say it to you. These quarterbacks, a lot of people are dogging them and everything. they went to different programs every single year. Incarnate Ward, Washington State, Miami. Cam Ward was the reason why he left Washington State, because Washington State's not a premier school. Yeah, he killed it in the Pac-10. They won over there. He knew he needed to go to a Power 5 school per se and go to Miami. He tore up in Miami. He played well. I mean, he was the defense wasn't that great. So I mean, quarterback-wise, he's fantastic. So he won at every program. Same thing with Shedeur Sanders. Won in high school. He won at JSU. And he brought the worst program in college football back into the top 25. So they transformed that college where Colorado is actually a destination that people want to go to now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, these quarterbacks, they won everywhere. But the biggest niche is for Sanders is he has his dad as the head coach every single level he was at. Can he win without his dad is the biggest question. And that's what I think the scouts and the GMs and head coaches are actually going to dive into now, is how he fits systematically in their system versus, his dad's system.
Yeah, I think he will, to be honest. I do. I really don't mind that kid either, to be honest.
No.
He seems like other than the glitz and the glamour and the prime time.
He's a great kid. Deion's not gonna gonna teach him the right way and how to speak to NFL head coaches and scouts. So he's smart as hell. How Deion's in his ear, reading defenses.
Very articulate. Seems like as far as his work comes, professional as they come. Obviously, extracurricular activities. That's his life. He can do what he wants, but he seems to be very well put. And I also think he's going to get. I think that both of them are going to succeed. I really do. Wherever they wind up going, I just think the edge to me goes to Cam. I think he's more of a ready right now guy to succeed immediately. Shedeur, I think it might take a little bit of time before you see the fruits of his talents, but we'll see. And time's going to tell, as always. Like we said, the combine's going to be here. Here it is. Yep. Draft's going to be here, like that, and then boom, it's going to be preseason before you know it. So, the clock is ticking. We got to hope the Titans and their new brass make the right choices. And as those decisions start to get made, we'll make sure we keep you up to date with our opinions on every single one of them. So. That's going to do it for us today. Nice show today, as always. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. We've been, like I said, a little stagnant with our subscribers. If you are been watching this for a while and you want to be up to date, please just hit that subscribe button.
And we're at the combine this week, so we got the team over there. So you're going to see everything. I mean, you saw today. They're not stopping with the interviews. Trust me, Juliana's going to work her ass off to get all the interviews and all the insight for us, especially when the players start coming in there. So they're going to be asking a lot of questions. So just watch our socials and be up to date with us.
Absolutely, guys. Well, I hope everyone has a tremendous rest of their week. We will definitely be back after the combine concludes to go over everything that we saw, and I'm sure we'll have a ton to talk about. A ton to talk about. And hopefully, we'll have Vin back as well for that segment as well. So, without further ado, we're going to head out, guys, and that's going to do it. Hope everyone has a great rest of their week, and as always, tighten up. Jimmy, send us out.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Talking Titans on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.